Note to everyone out there, when you do a live stream, you have to hit the go live button before you get 4 minutes into the live stream.
Yes. Oh, that was awesome because
Point out
Adam
that I
was.
did let you finish your thought, even though we were talking to ourselves.
You did. But before that, Adam was giving me a little grief about, I show up at the last minute. And I was telling him how, no minute, like the last minute sort of thing, how it's all great and everything. So this time, Adam, I was apparently, 5 minutes
4
early or
minutes
6 minutes.
early, 6 minutes early.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, I was reminding everybody, like, we follow a schedule for these events. And if you go to our events page, you'll see, like, here's the list of everything we're doing. And we try to make sure that it's easy to read and so you can follow through. And right now we're sitting here. We divide the year up into 4 quarters: the architecture quarter, service quarter, risk quarter, and finally strategy quarter. And in that way, we can make sure that we're following through on what we're doing every year, and we're covering all the topics that need to be covered. And then we'll redo it next year, but every year there's a little bit of a different theme going on.
Yeah.
And so right now we're in the service quarter, and we're talking about service audits and how they apply to what you're actually doing, how your services are there to help. In some point,
And
we started doing architecture, and we started just saying that architecture, the hardware and the software that we sell, is everything that we need to do. And no, the services are what we need to sell. And that's why
yes.
we focus on entire quarter on how to do service delivery.
Yeah. And so oddly enough, well, not oddly, but interestingly, the service audit that we developed came from a lot of conversations that we're having with members about their architecture. And they're like, all right, this is great. We're getting, all the basics in here. They got all the stuff, but we want to build best practices in there. That was a common theme that was coming up. And what we realized that there was this dynamic between what they have and how they use it. And if you don't understand that relationship, sometimes these service audits are not going to be impactful like you want them to be. So what I'm getting at is you have to make sure they have the right things in place before we can talk about servicing them. How are they going to be used within the client's environment? And our standard example in this has always been the password management. Yes, you need to have password policies. Those passwords need to be changed. You need to have some controls over all that. So that's a great check to go through in service. Hey, do you have this configured? What is your parameters on it? But if they don't have a password management solution within their environment, all the work that you're doing about setting policies and saying, hey, you need to be doing this is really not going to get you anywhere. Yeah. So there is a bit of an evolutionary process from architecture to service. You can blend the two, but just understand there is a difference. And sometimes you may identify a service related issue that you're like, we can't solve this. We can't implement this right now because they don't have the pieces in place for us to execute on that. So keep that in mind. It's a great way to approach this and make sure that you're getting the right things out there. You may find that it's a bit of a maturity step with some of your clients. If you got clients that are just a mess, they've got, cheap, home equipment scattered all over the place, you may need to focus longer on our architecture to get them in place before you can tackle the service elements. But I like that we have a plan, and we're walking that through. As I've commented many times before, having a plan lets you take at least small steps, and you'll get a lot farther with small steps than you will no steps. So this is a great place to kick this off and start implementing this focus on, hey, how are they using their technology? And that technology is also you. Keep that in mind.
How are you applying this to your clients? How are they using it on their end? So in the end of the day, what you have is you have an environment with a series of tools in it. Now, how do we use those tools to accomplish the goals of the business? And a lot of MSPs stop with, Okay, we've given them the tools they need to run their network and run their PCs, blah, blah, blah. But then they don't go
Mhm.
any further. So
Yep.
we have service audits. Okay, now do you need 24 by 7 support? This is my classic example. Maybe this is an 8 by 5, mom and pop, grocery, not a grocery store, but like uh, a card shop
A
or
dog
something, or
kennel.
a flower shop, a dog kennel, something that they're not going to be there after 5 o'clock. Okay, so they need 8 to 5. Could they use those services, the money they would spend on 24-hour service, somewhere else, such as
Mhm.
higher bandwidth for live streaming, better kiosk systems, PCI audits, or something that's going to help them run their business better. And so when you talk about services, like, you got to look at what is the business doing and how can we make it so that their services are aligned with their delivery. So at a school, they may not need after hours services so much as they need on-site support really fast.
Mhm.
So if a classroom is down or something is going on, that you are going to show up in under an hour. Maybe they need gold level support just between 8 and 5. You
Yeah.
could help build your service delivery around that. Like, we have a unique value prop in that we can get to schools. We keep somebody on retainer. They can get to a school within an hour of an outage or an issue. And that's your unique value prop. And so you can take these things and show why you're valuable. Because people complain all the time that, well, when we're doing our job, the client doesn't see us. No, when things are running smoothly, the client doesn't see you. When you're
Mhm.
doing your job, your client does see you because you're talking to them about, hey, how can we help with the next thing? It's not about, did I fix something in the last 20 minutes or the last 2 weeks? It's, have I shown up to see how are things going with the business? Are you moving forward? Are we serving you appropriately outside of just break fix? If you're just break fix and things are going smoothly, yes, your client will never see you. But if you're providing services on top of break fix, then's when your clients can start seeing value because you're able to not break fix and you're able to say, hey, you know what? Let me help you out with those smart boards at your school. Hey, the flower shop, let me help you out with your e-commerce and help that run smoother. I can make a laptop that you can accept payments on while you're at a graduation.
Yeah. Ooh,
These are
very cool.
things you can do because now you have free time. Things aren't breaking as often.
Well, and this is a really important element. When we say service audits, I think as an industry, I know me personally, being a very technical one, when I think of audit, I think of tools like rapid fire. All right. I started using that, I don't know how long ago, might not want to count exactly. And it's a great tool. It would go out there and discover all of these things. But how many of those and which of those really apply to the business that I'm looking at? So
Yeah.
when you're looking at your audits and you want to build these out, it's not just do they have this, they have this, we're doing this, and running through this standard boilerplate list. It is really, really important that you adjust that list so it matches the business context. What you mentioned about 24/7 is really, really impactful because you may have a value proposition. You're going out there and selling your services, and you're really harping on, hey, we've got this 24/7 delivery solution, and you've spent a lot of time developing it, your team, and how they're going to respond, how you're going to distribute that load. There's a lot I know that goes into that. And if you keep talking to your client about 24/7, 24/7, 24/7, and the whole time they're sitting there going, at 5 o'clock, I'm out the door. I don't know why you keep talking to me about 24/7. You're wasting your time and you're making your client feel like you're not a good fit for them.
Yep.
So you really need to zero in whatever your standard, whatever your audit is going to be. It has to be within the context of your client's business needs.
Yeah. And so when we look at this week, how service audits add context. So you've changed your architecture around. And now you've got a series of services you provide, such as 24 by 7 or managed backups, or I don't know what else. But your clients still aren't listening to you. They won't listen to your recommendations. It's because you're not fitting your services into what they do. Again, not everybody needs 24 by 7. That's a classic example. Some need within the hour 8 by 5 platinum level support. Some need better security overview or reviews. Some need lunch and learns to help them keep on top of new technologies and answer questions. That's the recommendations you should be making, not the generic ones of, here is how I'm going to help you. I'm going to install Active Directory in Azure and I'm going to, no, anybody will do that. That's changing the oil in the car. You're going to get it
Yeah.
done. It's going to happen. It should be an assumption. Your service that you're providing is technology. The unique value prop pertains to their industry. So
Mhm.
if you don't have anything in your stack that pertains to a specific industry, you're just another generic technology provider and you're just making generic recommendations. You're a Jiffy Lube. I'm going to go in
Well,
there, I'm going to get
yeah.
things done, and I'm going to walk out. You may be really great at customer service. You may be really great at supporting people, but to the rest of the world, you're just a Jiffy Lube. Now, if you
Yeah.
walk in there and say, hey, we're Valvoline and we specifically work on diesel trucks, we are equipped to help them run
Mhm.
smoothly. We're equipped to make sure that they're going to be tuned up properly and we have the right equipment on staff. If you come in with a gas car, we can help you, but it's not going to
Mhm.
be quite as good because we have specific tools for diesel trucks. That's what we do.
Well,
Now you
and
have
there's a
a
tremendous
unique
upsell.
service.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't want to, in my previous comments there, it was kind of about, you can limit yourself or, hurt yourself, but there's a tremendous upsell in this as well. So years ago, we were working with an engineering firm and they had some IT challenges. They still had an internal shop to some extent, and we'd been working with them. And their investors, their stakeholders came in and said, "All right, enough." And they kicked off an internal process where they went out and calculated the cost of downtime for their organization. What did it cost them if the IT infrastructure was inaccessible? And they came back with a number that was north of $200,000 an hour, right, for them to be down, right? Huge, huge, number there. As we're working with them now, and they come down, sit down at the table with this number, that changed the dynamic drastically. It's not that, hey, yes, we are going to be available to you. It's we're going to be available to you instantly. And they were willing to pay for those services. They saw the cost and the value that we could bring to mitigate that cost. And so there was a huge uptick in what we could offer them and the bill that we could send them. So there's lots of opportunity here as well as mitigating the risk of being a bad fit for your client. So you really need to dial this in, and you do that by understanding what they
Yep.
need.
So in our software, I recommend going into the reporting area and building out a unique service audit for different industries.
Mhm.
So, hey, this is a school. Okay, we need to check and see, do we have a Google Classroom admin assigned to them? Do they have adequate bandwidth for live streaming all the videos that schools stream? Do they have, like, maybe they have an on-site support, so they need co-managed support. There's a unique set of rules there. And then when you're talking to the school about that, they see this uniqueness in your service delivery. Like, well, look, we're not treating you like a bank. We're treating you like a school and
Mhm.
your unique problems you have. We know that availability of the internet is paramount in schools these days. So we're going to give you an HA firewall setup with a backup just in case internet drops. That is what we're doing for you. We're also going to make sure that, hey, do you have an E-rate provider? We're going to hook you up with one of our best ones we have. That's going to go through and make sure you're getting your top dollar out of E-rate every year. We're going to go through and make sure, or, maybe it is a bank. Hey, we're going to make sure we're following all of these rules that need to be applied. We're going to give you best practices at banks. We're going to help you understand, hey, here's other players in town that'll help you out with different software. We have partnerships with them. These services get listed on you so that when you're talking to your clients, they're listening to you because they
Yeah.
feel heard. You are treating
Yeah.
them like the person they are, the individual company they are in the service audit. Now that you have technology, no one cares what kind of firewall you have, except for the engineer who has to support it.
Right.
The school cares about how am I using that firewall is it doing things that are helping my students learn and making my teachers' lives easier?
Yeah.
That's what they care about. That's the service audit. And that's how you take your action items and you align customer services to that.
And as you start talking with them, as you get these items on the roadmap, we have a great roadmap. All right, you can get them up there, and you're able to change the name. It's a small detail, but rather than a platinum level 24/7 support, you're able actually to identify the teams that you're supporting. Support the third shift as they come on at 6 p.m. every day or whatever. It's not these abstract sort of technology solutions that we're proposing. You're actually able to list out the business value to them. So they're no longer looking and prioritizing technology projects. They're no longer, debating over the cost of, hey, should we spend, for the extra, redundant ports on this box versus that one. They're looking at their business needs. And that changes the dynamic of your sales conversations dramatically. Right? Because no longer is it you pushing, hey, you need this technology. Now they're looking at it saying, I need this business fix. I need this business accelerator. Completely, dynamic shift there. And it will allow you, and I hit on this pretty often, it will allow you to add more margin in these deals as well, because we're not looking at, hey, someone else could do this service for, 20% less. No, this is their business need that you're solving. That's not a commodity item. That's unique to them.
Yeah. So this pre-sales, when you walk in here, so I've got 3 points here. How to use built-in service audits. Make them industry specific. How to use the April action items. Align via what you're doing, because you're going to come through. You've classified all these clients into different industries. Now you're going to apply services to them so that they feel heard. And then finally, you're going to do a little bit of this in the pre-sales. So that way, when you're talking to a customer that you're trying to win over, you can say, hey, look, I know you've got an MSP already, but they're just your competition in the town. They're just a generic MSP. They're good at what they do. I specifically work with doctors' offices. I know Susan over in Hospital X, who you have to interface with all the time. I know how doctors work. I know how nurses work. I know the whole system works. I know the pains with HMS. I know the pains with client waiting rooms and technology and fighting all this stuff. I am going to help you understand and keep on top of the changes in the medical industry from a technology standpoint. That's how I'm going to help you. Yes, I'm a little bit more expensive, but that is the value prop, is that you no longer have to keep on top of this stuff because I've got it for you and you're what I focus on. So that's your pre-sale. So any sales engineer can go and say, we focus on this stuff. And we can give you that unique value prop. So now your client feels heard. That number one thing I hear from people, my clients don't listen to my recommendations. It's because you're giving them generic things. You need to specifically call out what is their pain point and how are you going to solve it. Why should it go with you versus the Jiffy Lube down street? Like you've gotta work on that, people. And that's where service audits come in. And most of the channel will not help you sell services. They're going to help you sell products because they've got something they're reselling that they want you to resell. You as an MSP, you're going to make your margin off of the services you sell and the unique value proposition you bring to the table. And no one else is taking a part of that pie other than you. So you've got to take ownership of this. You've got to create these service audits and you've got to work with them.
You mentioned the channel, Adam, and you're absolutely right there. There are a lot of tools out there and they will give you great data, but there is not a tool out there that will analyze your customer's business. There is no way that you can, install an agent in their environment. It's going to tell you, hey, this is important to their business. Right? That is going to require a conversation. You're going to have to talk to your clients. Now, Adam, you talked a lot about, focusing on particular industries, and that is a really, really good opportunity. But maybe you don't have that resource, or maybe that's just not the position in your environment. You don't have to be the business experts because your clients already are. Right?
Yep.
Let them talk to you. Let them tell you what the priorities are, what their biggest challenges are, what would help them the most, solving the most problems. I mean, you come up with the technology solutions, all right, but they can tell you, hey, if we could just get this done faster, all right,
Yep.
whatever that is, all right, you're able to line up solutions that will help them get that done. But that's going to be unique for your customers. So you're going to have to, schedule some time, get in front of them, and listen. It's easy to do, and it's not going to take a significant amount of time, but it is what's going to empower the shift and how you begin to identify what means something to them versus some other business, which may seem really similar that you may be familiar with, but they're unique. You're going to have to know what matters most to each individual client.
Yep. What do you bring to the table that no one else does? And it can't just be yourself. It has to be a service. It has to be a value prop. And that's going to help you shine. And so with that, only you can discover that. Only you can figure out what your value prop is there and what you can bring to the table and what your MSP is going to bring to the table. That is going to push you forward. And then how do you use that service among all the tools that are available to you to make your client successful? They'll never want to get rid of you. They will keep you at the top of the list because they know you care about them. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We got some really cool webinars coming up. I'm excited to announce them. I just got to get a few more details going, but we have a really cool year ahead of us. Next week is May, people. May. It means we're almost halfway through the year.
Yep.
So get your goals down. Start focusing on strategy. Get that in place because otherwise it's going to be just another December with another regular year.
Yep. That's it.
All right. We'll see you all later.
See ya.